It's a visit with a person of high strangeness. Today's show is going to be the predictions for 2015. Now, as you can see, I got a year older, but so did you. And you didn't think you was gonna escape Father Time, now did you? I'm really happy to report to you that we are filming this in our new studio at TCTV. TCTV had a lot of changes this year, and we went all high definition. And you know me, of course I got scared, and so I overcame my fear, and here I am. So bear with me, everything is gonna be A-okay. For those of you that's interested in my health, I'm gonna live another year or 2 or 3, or maybe more than that, and so no worries on that account. Kanashi Bashan could not be with us this year because she had some health issues in 14, and so it was decided that I'm just going to do this by myself. And so there you have it. Now, usually I explain to you, for those of you that never watched the predictions before, it's usually the same format. And let me explain to you what I'm getting ready to do. I'm going to go ahead in time and take a look at what is going to happen within and about the United States for the year 2015. Now, telling time with accuracy is like hitting the moon with a paper clip. So that's a little complicated sometimes, but within reason, within weeks sometimes, it'll work out sort of the way I looked at it. I'm still saying we because usually there's 2 of us. Well, anyway, what happens is I'm going to do a little troubleshooting to see what's coming our way, because chances are when the predictions are done, sometimes it gives us solutions how to change things, because lots of times we really don't like what it looks like. And so we have time to adjust. Unfortunately, most of the time there is no adjustment, and then it comes out exactly the way I look at it. And as a result of that, unfortunately, we are very accurate, sometimes between 94 and 98%, and that's a pretty high number. So I'm hoping for 15, we'll pay attention and make changes and move it the way that we need to as a whole. So please make me wrong in some of the things. To get an accurate reading on this, I had to look at 13, 14, and now 15, because 15 is actually a continuation of 13 and 14. Now, if you remember, 14 wasn't very good. We did, however, see the Ebola epidemic. We saw the problems with the stock market. Just in the last few days, Hong Kong, that's what I'm looking for. In Hong Kong, because whatever happens in Hong Kong, our stock market kind of takes us for a guideline. So when things don't go well there, of course, then our stock market is going to come down a little bit, and it did a little more than a little bit. So I'm going to get going on 15, if that's all right with you. This are my notes that I worked up last month, because we're a little late taping this. And with that, I use Oisha cards, and they are usually pretty accurate, and I go by the book on that. So let me read this to you and try to explain it to you. In 15, we need to use all our senses. We have to further our activities, our mental status, and we have to be a little more psychic, like almost everybody, maybe not in the same capacity as I am, but we have to follow our feelings, because if we don't, then things aren't gonna, 2 and 2 is no longer gonna make 4. In order to get in balance, we have to start with an opinion with absolute faith and respect. We have a lack of protection and a rapture. Now, I'm not sure what that rapture means because it could mean different things to many people, and so you kind of play with that and see what it means to you. There will be disagreements and disharmony. Because of the communication problems, we have to separate ourselves from partners and associates. Now keep in mind, this affects the United States, and sometimes we have to consider the other countries that fit in with this setup here. So in March, June, and November, there's going to be issues with nutrition and nutrients. And those are elements that we need for life. So I'm assuming that the GMO issue that we're having, where everything is genetically engineered, is not gonna go away. They will just continue that. And I'm also thinking as a result of that, more and more of our food export will cease because other countries don't like what we're doing here. So if we manage to balance our emotions and our mindset, we can achieve physical welfare because these factors are needed in combination. And then it says, don't let your stubbornness blind you, and do not covert, I don't know that word, covert, more than you deserve. There is danger of envy, corruption, fraudulent contracts, blackmail and extortions. May has the possibility to realize who is hardy and arrogant. We can change that and use it to our advantage to get more harmonious, and we can act in closer relationships. We will have issues for forests, mounds, and everything that's green, and intelligence has to be used to conquer brutality. We will bring things we have started to a conclusion, but really can't change anything. So I'm assuming that has to do with the Middle East. And then it says, a woman who is a dreamer and sensible will rise momentarily, but her projects will have no grounds for the future. I'm assuming this to be Elizabeth Warren, because she is very focused, very good, a very brilliant person. But some of us feel that, how should I explain that? Some of us feel that we can't be so focused on one thing. She has to be more open-minded about things in order to, excuse me, for instance, run for president. You can't be focused on one thing. As you have seen our poor president, he has to be in 10 places at the same time. And so some of us doubt that our Elizabeth Warren can do that and spread herself that thin. Now, on the African continent, there's going to be a strong limitation of sexual activity because it's believed the baby would suffer while in the womb and the mother has little milk to feed it. There's hypersensitivity to physical pain, and we have to watch the reproductive organs. And I'm almost thinking that has to do here again with the Ebola. There is a possibility that they'll come up with a vaccine or something that will actually affect women's reproductive organs. And actually, I'm going to stick with that. Then, at one point, there will be a shortage of meat because of an external disturbance. And we're not going to be able to handle two economic or financial situations at the same time. if here again, if you look at 14, you had droughts, you had floods, so it wouldn't surprise me if the food shortages that we talked about or the lack of meat is that things just aren't going to grow at the rate that we need it, or it gets so expensive that can nobody afford it, you know. And it's going to be really difficult to leave one and accept the other. And so we're really victims of our own genius when we try to change things and pump the chickens full of things and make the cows give more milk, you know, and things like that. And now we have this in 13 here. It says the emperor has no clothes. And this has to do with foreign policy. It says our protection is weak. Initially, we play an important role in society, but all of a sudden, we're not so relevant anymore. There is lack of experience, and there is selfishness, and I can't say that word, demagoguery. I hope that was right. And Carl Jung said that the human ego may feel so moved in experience, it will divide attributes, but at the cost of exceeding ourselves, and we fall in disaster. And that would explain the story of Icarus, the young man who reached the sky with his fragile inhuman wings, but he flew too near to the sun and his wings melted, so he fell to his own destruction. So we have changes that will be set before us, and we can get back on track just the way we need it, because one face has 1,000 masks. So there will be betrayal and outcasts by persons who do not abide by the rules of certain social groups and only have one alternative, no alternate, and that's exile. I'm not sure what the exile stands for, but as you know, sometimes the stories play out correctly. The storyline is one thing, but it plays out just a little different. And in 15, people are going to hoard money. So a lot of adjustments. So I'm going to throw this on the floor here. I'm going to make the country male, because we're really still in the mindset that everything has to be clinically correct, politically correct, and it's very regimented. And so we're going to make the country male. Yeah, I'm going to do that. As you know, I work with 2 decks, and the reason for that is that it gets me to where I want to go faster and with more accuracy. And as you know, I really don't need these cards, but it would really look crazy if I just sit here and talk for an hour, you know, so. Are you ready? So here we go. Changes in the religious system. Now, that does not mean that everybody is going to change, but it looks like certain fractions of religious organizations are going to go a little overboard. Like, all of a sudden, they're right in your face all the time about things that never happen. So how should I explain that? Almost like a brainwashing. They're trying to improvise for things that's happening and trying to make us feel better on one hand and put people on a guilt trip on the other. So I think some changes will be with the churches. I think they're going to be more liberal and open-minded with medicine, with health decisions. That's really weird because I don't know what that means exactly. People, we need to be more relaxed, meaning that at the moment we are so uptight, and that actually carries over from 13, because in 2012, many looked for the end of the world. Of course, it didn't happen the way some expected. But when you look at the way we thought in 12, in 11 actually, and the way we thought in 13 and 14 and now 15, the world has really changed. Attitudes, laws, nothing is the same. In fact, you may want to go to my website and download one of my books, and it was called 2012, So What Am I Still Doing Here? And it's a combination, it's a collection of newsletters, and you can see month by month how 12 changed us as a people. Now, America is going overboard just a little bit with correctness and what people say. It looks like we're getting to the point where we can't really speak our mind, and that is not a good thing. That is not a good thing. We can still juggle things a little, but acute, like bam, somebody's going to tell us to be quiet now, and we feel like we want to run away from home, you know, because we can't make up our own minds anymore. And I would think that has to do with social media and restrictions. And of course, religion will back that, unfortunately. There is an increase in mental illness, paranoias, disorders. But I believe some of this has to do with the fact that the hardest thing to do is to love yourself. And until we do that, each person to love themselves, and I don't mean to be really selfish, you know, where it's ego and I, but kind of love ourselves and get over some of the old issues. And it's really going to create problems, because we have to be almost on alert, like in the military, they call an alert and you just sit there and you're ready to go. And then maybe they call you and maybe they won't. But we have to be more relaxed about things, because we won't be able to make up our own mind about anything if this continues. So many loose ends about the past, and I think that has to do with foreign policy. It would appear that some people's money is going to increase by a little trickle, just a little bit. But that's really an illusion, and it's a pacifier. It's like, you know, here's a little couple more extra dollars, now go away and be quiet. So when you vote and when you look at things like that, don't let a dollar increase in your pay change your mind as to who has your interest at heart. And look at everything. When you get your pamphlets, I mean, read everything and research, so you won't be bought off per se by just a few dollars. That's rather important. Job situation looks good. Jobs will rise. Not very good paying jobs, but nevertheless, unemployment will drop a little, or at least stay where it is. That doesn't mean we make it as a whole that we make more money. It's just distributed in a broader way here. And sometimes we have to give up something to get something. There's going to be changes at the Supreme Court. But we've seen all of this before. So it's not an aha moment where we see things that, or we realize things that is brand new. When you historically look back a little bit, everything is a repeat. It's a repeat. So the only people that wouldn't recognize that is the young people. So we have to spend more time with the young people and give them an accurate account of history, and not the way it is presented, sometimes in book form or on the news or things. You know, tell your children and your grandchildren about your own experiences, especially my generation. We won't be here very much longer. And we have to explain it from the point of view of an experience so it makes sense to the young children, see? So, and that's the only way we can tidy up these loose ends. 15 is going to be backbreaking. A lot of hard work, a lot of compromises, and we have to be really, really careful so we can maintain the status we have in the world, because it's not very good at the moment. And unfortunately, we bring some of this on ourselves by these, here again, political correctness, but ethnic and racial divides, and we really need to work on that, because if not, it's nobody going to listen to a word we say, regardless who's president. There will be changes with the prison system. I would assume that less people will be incarcerated, and that's really necessary. Number one, it doesn't look very good to the rest of the world. Number two, everything is overcrowded, and let me see. There may even be talk of separating criminals from offenders that have mental issues. And in a way, I think that may be a good thing, but somebody is going to do something about the sentencing guidelines, the mandatory guidelines. I'm not sure. Let's see, this is October 14, so as you know, we tape this ahead of time, you know, before the new year comes. I'm not sure if some of the Ferguson, for instance, is some of the law enforcement that has been so totally brutal will really be brought to justice. And I'd like to caution you there. Go back in history and see how things played out for people to make changes, and because we really don't want to go backwards. We just about there with the Jim Crow and the things that happen in St. Louis and in Ferguson. Be careful so we don't make 5 steps back. And watch your friends on your social websites and in your media, because sometimes you can have problems just by association. So I would advise you to screen the new friends that push the like button for you. I'm going to stick with that. Here again, this has to do with the legal system. Things are pretty predestined. Now, I like to define what predestined means to me. Predestined is, I'm going to meet you in New York at 5 o'clock on Tuesday. Now today is Saturday, so it is predestined I meet you there. Now whether I take a train or a bicycle or I start walking, that is my journey. As long as I get to the predestined point to meet you in New York on Tuesday. So, next year is pretty laid out, but we have to be careful how we journey to the outcome. It looks like there are at least threats, TH, threats of government shutdown again. And that, of course, is going to interfere with our credit rating again. It does not look like the different branches of government is going to get along. It appears some of them will stick their toe in the water, so to speak, to kind of test the waters, but that's not going to last. I think it's more geared to give the appearance that things are changing, but they're really not. So keep an eye on the people that you voted for and that you appointed to represent you, because there's a couple of loonies. Yeah, so yeah, more than loonies actually. So be sure you make up your own mind about things and make sure that they don't misrepresent you, because that would not be so good. Flooding. The flooding is going to continue. I see issues with New Orleans. At this time, I'm not able to say if it's weather-related or not. But it has to do with New Orleans, especially the part of town where the graveyards are. So I'm not sure what I'm looking at here. I'm not looking at anything. That's just the word that I use. But issues with New Orleans. There's going to be a drop in volunteers for the military. I think some of the young people are finally tired of having to go to war all the time. Some of the young people, I mean, that's all they know. And so they're not going to be really happy about or eager to volunteer, even though it's a job. You know what I mean? So a drop in volunteering for the military. I'm going to stick with that. New sects, back to the religious thing, for some reason, new sects are going to spring up again. I think the reason for that is people are so tired. They just wore out from things, and they're looking for this one thing to hang on to and to climb on to. But you really, really want to be careful who is telling you what and who is maneuvering your belief system. And we're back to the loose ends. I mean, everything looks really good except I'm making noises on the table, I think. Let me back up a little bit. There you go. Can't have me scratching all over you here, can I? we have these loose ends and we're tired. We do the same thing. We go to work to pay the rent, to buy the food, and there is so little time to really enjoy life a little bit. It's like at the moment we are existing, and hopefully we'll get, especially towards the end of next year, maybe we start living a little bit, but it's going to have to go downhill before it comes back up. Hillary Clinton, she is sort of surrounded by some very immature people at the moment, and I think it's causing her a lot of anxiety. And maybe she want to take a look to see who is promoting her. At the top, last year, well, actually in 2014, we saw changes at the top in the government. So Mr. Holder is stepping down, and a new person got appointed to be Attorney General. But the person that's appointed and the person that is going to be there for the remainder of this presidency cycle, I don't think it's the same person. So that's a little bizarre, because I'm thinking there is the need to change it twice, counting the person that they appoint now, and then one more after that. We have to learn how to teach people how to be respectful in a loving way, because it's okay to have goals, but if you set that goal too far, you can't go from point A to point C and skip all the middle. So just imagine little stepping stones. You know, like earlier I said, they'll stick their toe into the water. But if they have stepping stones, they can just kind of jump from here to here to here to here. And it appears the problem now is that everybody wants to go from point A to point C and skip all the middle. And we have to quit doing that, because why? Inside, some decision makers have no insight, and they don't think long term. It's always the now, the now, the now. And we can continue to look at the now. On a personal, we can live in the now, because that's all we can do. Because we can't determine what anybody else is doing, and whether it's work or money or anything, everything depends on what the country is doing. So on a personal, we can live in the now and get from here to there like that. But as a country and as a whole, we cannot be in the now, because if we don't have any foresight, we're going to step in it. Money is going to be really, really good, but only for some people, like always, of course. And that's going to cause arguments. I mean, you know, we almost like a caste system. What do they call it? The haves and the have-nots. And I think that's going to get so intensified. And like I said earlier, make sure that $1 pay raise does not put you in a frame of mind where you think things are better, because it's not. So it's going to really be hard to maintain the little status we have now, you know, because most of the money is on paper, stocks and bonds and things like that, and that can leave just like that. And earlier on my piece of paper, it said that people are starting to hoard money. And it's interesting that this came back up. The appointment to the Supreme Court is going to be controversial. It's going to be controversial. Whoever gets nominated will get the seat, but in a way, it's not going to change the setup of the Supreme Court. It's like always, it's just going in circles, like round and around, and more the same. And in a way, that's a little unfortunate. And then also see a female in high places. A female in high places. I can't determine what office that is at this time, so we'll have to see how that plays out. Then, when I'm quiet like that, I have to go away and get the rest of the story here. When problems with the family structure, as things, it doesn't appear like anything's going to get any, I won't say better, because better is really more the same. We need things to be different. And so, but the anxieties of the working parents and the single moms and things are not going to get any better. And so I would almost think there is an increase in domestic violence again. Several new laws will be pushed, and I'm not sure how that's going to play out. Like, for instance, I have shown you right here, in the old studio, I have shown you what the Homeland Security bill looks like. It's 400 and some pages, plus the amendments. That thing is that thick. And so somewhere along the line, I'm not sure if that will be amendments to the Homeland Security bill or a whole new different story, but it has to do with medications, it has to do with shots, it has to do with confinements. Huh. And it says sometimes it's just easier to start from scratch. And every once in a while something will happen, and as a result of that, something new is put in place. And it almost looks like something new is coming that we have never seen before. And as a result of that, they'll either have amendments to existing laws or totally brand new laws that they haven't even thought of yet. I can't tell you what it is because I don't know. That's interesting. I'm going to stick with that. Even though the national debt has been paid down, nobody's going to be satisfied with that. and there is a need to raise more money. So I'm thinking that maybe taxes will go up, or maybe more loans have to be made, because 2015 is thrown pot shots at us, because we have to finish what was started in 13 and 14. Now I can assume, I don't like to assume, but let me assume that has to do with the war, and they're just gonna run us out of money, you know. There will be new beginnings. New beginnings can also mean that there will be changes. I don't think the problems we are having with, ISIS and things like that, I do not think that will change too much in 15. I think next year we're going to have the same conversation, because it looks like that's going to be really, really long term. I think some of the allies, like always, are going to leave us, and I'm not sure if anything is going to change with I can't say that word, Guantanamo. If Guantanamo gets closed, a different facility will be open in its place. The summer in 15 is going to be very, very extreme. Droughts, fires, even more than it was in 14. But survivable. So next year, when I sit here, we will get through this. But I have no high hopes of anything magically getting any better, because here you have the climate change. I think a lot more money is going to be invested in solar, and that's good. There's a lot of anxiety about money. March, June, November, going to be critical months for money. I'm not sure if that has to do with the stock market or wages or anything, but those are the 3 critical months for money. And I'm thinking, I'm looking at the average person there. So, but we're going to come out of it. We've learned how to adopt, and I was talking to my sister here on Skype the other day, and we were looking back on how things were after the war. Nobody had food, and the strange things they had to cook, and it was really, really hard. But they came out of it, and it took a long time to recover. And when you talk to people that have actually lived it, and you see them now, it shows you how resilient we are as a people, and we can take care, and we can do anything if we put our mind to it. But in order to do that, we have to teach, we have to tell the young people what it is like to not have everything. And there's some crows out here. I don't know if you can hear them on the tape. When I'm in the studio, lots of times things happen, and that's called an affirmation. Imagine having a crow. This is a big building, and so I think we're on the right track here. Back to the young people, we have to kind of tell them firsthand and prepare them to change their line of thinking just a little bit, because we are in for a rough ride here. And it's almost global. Now that the family structure is different, we have the whole families are set up with the new marriage laws that we have, and that's really a wonderful thing, because all of a sudden we can do things together as a people, and we really need to maintain that, because when you look around and you go to the store and you see people, and the closer we get as Americans or people living in America, the better it is going to be. And sooner or later, everybody will come around to, you know, a mutual understanding there. I see people leaving. And I'm assuming that that's not a good word. I know we're not supposed to have soldiers in the middle, boots on the ground, they call it. I'm not so sure about that, because they're leaving the country for a while, and then come back. They just about have to be soldiers, I would think. So I'm thinking that no boots on the ground is not going to work. So some of our men, unfortunately, have to go back into the war zone. For an average person to get a job, a good paying job, it's like giving birth. It's like, first you're hurting, and then the pain subsides, and you relax for a moment, and here it comes again. And it's a long process, because the jobs are so divided. It's like 2 and 3 people have the same, it's like they're splitting the same job, which means the unemployment rate is not going up, but we're going backwards on the financial angle of that. And I can put a time period on this, because I think it's gonna go over into 16 even. Yep. Interest rates will go up, and I believe this is accurate. But we can do this. I mean, you know, look at all the things. Look at all the things we have done. We have done over the years, the things we've overcame. Most of the young people, they count their lives from 9/11 on, and quite a few things have went south, downhill from then, and so we are resilient people. And so we just need to give the young people the tools, you know, the manual, the physical tools, how to go ahead and change things. Because, I mean, look at the politician. They are 70, 80 years old here. I'm going to be 67 next month. And back to the studio here. It looks beautiful, but it's frightening, because the terminology is different, the instruments are different. It frightens me, because I don't understand it. And my 8-month-old great-grandbaby knows how to use a Kindle. I mean, it just pushes here and pushes there and goes like that, and it works. So the older people, like people my generation, We have to learn how to go forward. The young people have to learn to tolerate us more because we're from a different time. And we're going to come out just fine. It just takes a lot of cooperation between all of us. Immigration is not going to change. A lot of talk, no deeds. Ebola. Said it's going to be like it was before, so I would think it comes in spurts. To summarize, job situation stays the same. We have to be careful so we don't have to start from scratch with everything that we do. And I'm going to make a story here because I'm almost out of time. Gee, that didn't take long. Immature people, increase in mental illness, and I think that has to do with the medications. A really, really extreme summer. More females coming into power. Everything's predestined, so you just kind of go along with the program and it'll be smooth. Well, not smooth, but the best you can do. Relax, we need to relax. We need to relax more, and I would say this is accurate. And so, please do not call during this broadcast because somebody's going to answer the phone. At the end of the show, it'll give you information how to get a hold of me. And I so enjoy that you came along for this journey. If this works for us, we'll do it the same way next year, but I'm hoping Kanashi Bushan will feel much better. She will be 81 by then, by the way. And I know you enjoy the interaction that her and I usually have, but it just couldn't be done this time. And stop by the studio sometimes, create your own show, and create your own reality. That has a lot to do with anything that we do. And God, this was nice. Cool, huh? Go with the flow. One more thing. This has to do with birth control pills. I think there will be more issues with birth control pills. We've seen this before, probably May or June. May or June. But we're gonna be fine. We're really gonna be fine. So I don't know what else to tell you. Thank you for sharing time and space with me. Thank you for your support. And Tuesday nights at 9, channel 22. Don't know the channel for Yelm. Monday nights at PEN, P-E-N, on the internet. Then you have YouTube. So I'm right at your fingertips at all time. And so I don't know where I'm at. Do I have enough time? They say, how many? 1?
1 minute.
Oh, 1 minute. So I guess I'll love and light to everybody. And I would really like to go on a trip this summer if I'm well enough. So figure out where I'm supposed to go, and maybe we can make it happen, okay? Thank you for your support, and we can do this. We can do this. So let's change things and make it really easy on us. And thank you, Maxwell. He's the wonderful person that made that possible, because he's one of the few people that knows how to operate these machines, because I don't. And take care of yourself. And love and light. And I'm out of here. I am, I think. Am I?
Still young, would like to thank you exhale. Happiness just began.